basically idea here, Ash, is gathering all the developers. We have a lot of chats in the channels. However, it's good to get them all together, see what they're working on, get a feel for what they're trying to do. And then the most important, I think, out of this call is if we can narrow in or kind of focus on specific problems or blockers they may be having. Could be just a simple misunderstanding. It could be features that are not working or not available, so that we can kind of make sure that we're supporting them with what they need in order to continue building their projects. That's one part of it. And then the other side of it is to understand, what are people building, so we can kind of put groupthink into it and think what we can do to improve or help each other out in terms of what we're building.
What's up, brother?
Yo.
Hey, guys.
What's going on, man?
Yeah, it's a good idea, Maximus. Especially like the blockers thing, because we're just trying to kind of like, figure out what's needed, because I think we're quickly getting there, but be keen to see what other people are thinking.
Yep, perfect. And I see we got, it's Bogey, is that it? Is it the way to say it?
Yep.
Perfect. Bogey.
I was saying, say it however you want, but
Boogie.
That works too.
He lives. And then Howie does it. Thank you for joining as well. Appreciate you here. I know it's getting a little bit after hours. Appreciate it. And just as I was explaining to Ash, and then as people join, they can kind of catch up. But basically, the purpose of this call is...
You know how he does it. No, please, tell us how he does it.
And then that kind of is one of the things that we're trying to look at is what is everybody working on? How are they doing? And really, really important is understanding what blockers you have. And then working with Ash to see, okay, what can we do to unblock it? I don't think we could fix everything on the call, but I think it's worth trying to figure out what's blocking people from work that they're doing or projects they're wanting to do. So I'll open it up to the floor, and then let's just go with Boogie. Bogey, and what is he working on? Give it like 2 minutes of what you're looking at, what you're working on, and then let us know if there's any trouble. And then we're just going to go around the developers, and then we'll end up with Ash, and I think he'll have some feedback and some ideas there.
Cool, sweet. Let me just run.
Yeah, feel free to share stuff if you've got it running or whatever. Like visuals are good.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest way. Think. So I've been tinkering and prompting away. I've been messing with since you dropped the agent code. I set one up and I was like, yay, it works. It works locally, but I've had a bit of trouble. I'm running Eliza locally. I haven't found a host yet, or figured out how to run it on my server yet. So I'm kind of stuck trying to figure out how to expose my local Eliza to my server, the Hyperfy world, but it works locally. Everything's good. So things I've done. Also, the updated Sky code. I kind of added my little my Skybox switcher. And I had some issues today that I got fixed. So, like, this was really glitchy. Like when it's because I broke it though, and somehow I fixed it. So happy days. But like the text wasn't showing and these buttons weren't, the CSS wasn't CSSing. But yes, it's working now. I like this one. And then today I've been like, trying to like not make Hyperfy, but like just messing around. Like I've been trying to figure out how to like add a trigger so when a body or a player collides with that trigger, it kind of rotates and moves the paddle like pinball. So I've been trying to figure that out, but I've got smoke coming out my ears at the minute. But yeah, so just trying to come up with some cool like add-ons for things we're currently doing, just like stuff like that. And yeah, there's a duck.
That's awesome, man.
And like
on the
first-person controls as well.
On the agent stuff, it's easy to run Eliza's locally. the I'm assuming you're running our fork that we made that just
Yes.
adds the endpoint and stuff. Yeah. So we're like talking to a couple of companies around making that like a first class thing in their platforms so that you could use their platforms to host your Eliza instead of having to host it yourself. I also recently realized that there's an Eliza, there's like a strip down, an Eliza starter repo, which is a lot easier to run on a server yourself if you really wanted to, rather than having to try and build the main repo with all the plugins and stuff.
Yeah.
The game looks really good that you're trying to make. It's good, like just trying out different things.
Yeah, just like a little sandbox, just to figure out, game mechanics and stuff. Like.
Yeah, that's it. I would say for that like pinball thing that pushes it, you could either apply force to the ball when it touches it, so you can just like go add force, or you could make the pinball mechanism like kinematic and make it like rotate quickly so it snaps and pushes the ball.
Yeah,
it'd be cool to see like giant life-size pinball.
Yeah, I was also thinking like how we made this like goalpost earlier. You gave it to me this morning before you went to bed. I was thinking, imagine if like the game was up here, like you're in a collider, you're in this zone, and you have to like go from left to right to activate the pinballs, and then the ball's just there. I think that would be pretty cool. And then you go like stop it from going, and you go, or like maybe it's a hockey puck. That's what I was thinking. After a ball, maybe throw a puck in. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah.
I also see you got a lot of custom stuff going on. So like on your right click menu, you've got
how we did all of this stuff. Yep. I'm gonna let him talk about these two additional things because they're really, really handy.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds good.
And that's it from me, man.
Very cool. Any blockers or stuff that you've noticed that's missing?
I mean, when like I initially started messing with the repo, it was a big question mark. But as time's gone on, just being a little patient for like when either a big update comes through or like someone's cracked something. Like when those eureka moments happen, then like there's like kind of like spur of energy and you kind of like crack on. But I don't think like I feel like blocked or anything. It's just. I guess the only like downside to all of this is having too many ideas at the same time, kind of thing. But you know what I'm saying? Like, but apart from that, it's a vibe, man. I'm enjoying
you have to
it. Like,
build all the things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just one thing at a time. Like that's what I remember. Like. But yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun so far. I love it, man. Thank you so much.
All good. Just before we go to the next person, I was going to say, just a quick update, like on Hyperball and why we're doing it and what it's for. It's kind of like it's just an idea to make a game, like a full-fledged game, using the tech that we're building. And I think it kind of like it's been good because just using that as kind of like a template for like a goal to achieve. Has put like a lot of core pieces into the engine that were missing, that were needed to support those kinds of things. I can't even think of anything off the top of my head, but like preloading was needed. There was some physics glitches and stuff like that happening. Being able to figure out how to get networked physics objects working. We needed skies. We needed more control over the lighting because Vox's map that he made needed a different HDR and skybox, but also the sun needed to move in a different direction. And to match what he had in V1, we also needed to be able to adjust the sun intensity. So all those changes are now in the core so that we could support that. And then it also means that all the other things that people are trying to make will probably, and if they need that kind of stuff, that it's there. But yeah, it's been good. I think the Hyperball thing is pretty close to being done. There's one last issue now with preloading assets. So the idea of preloading, and you'll see it when you right click an app, you can like check a box that says preload.
This is where I bought.
What was that? So preloading means that it'll load before you enter the world, and it does do that right now, but it's actually like one step out or something. I think there's like an issue where if you set your spawn to be on a physics platform up in the sky, for example, when you load in, you might load like half in the platform. It's kind of skipping a frame. So once we fix that, I think I'm going to get the Hyperball demo world up so we can play around with it, see what we want to do with it. But yeah, that's about it.
Quick question.
Yeah.
How do you set your spawn? I mean, maybe tell me later, but like...
Yeah, in the chat, for now, we're just keeping it like simple, but in the chat, if you type /spawn space set,
Oh shit.
then
okay.
it'll just store your current position that you're standing in as the spawn point. And you can clear it with /spawn clear.
Thank you.
That's a good question. So is that for like pretty much anywhere, or is it something inside of it, or is that for, I guess you'd say like by default in that sense? Or is that something
the
you have
spawn?
to go in and set up? Yes, the /spawn and then...
It's there by default. As long as you're an admin, you can call it. Otherwise, it won't work. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And it saves it in your world database folder so that you like it stays there.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
There's a question from Valiant, and I think that leads us also to a question about, in general, what are we doing with the UI? I know early on somebody offered to help us with UI. I think I saw how he does it is setting up some UI elements. So it may be helpful to kind of figure out where are we with UI, what's the plan, how can we coordinate so that we're not reinventing the wheel and recreating UI elements that existed in V1 that will eventually make it to V2, just hasn't gotten there yet. So could you talk through that for us?
Yeah, I'm down to see like what people have proposed, whether that's lo-fi like in Figma or something, just overlaid on the world, or actual usable examples is really cool. So with V1, what happened is we ended up redoing the UI quite a lot as things changed, and so we ended up rebuilding this whole UI system probably 3 or 4 times over the 2 years that we were running. And we eventually landed on something that's really good, but yeah, it did change quite often. And so what we're doing with V2 is I'm just trying to be like really mindful of that and not having to rebuild the UI every time we make like quite a lot of changes to the way that things work. And so that's why you'll see basically no UI except for the chat, because it's kind of necessary. And like we've kind of kept it for chat commands and stuff like that, for just quickly being able to, it's kind of like a console just to quickly be able to get things done. But as we're getting closer to being like full featured, like it would be good to have, we have hooks in the engine itself to control all the settings, like graphics settings. So you could turn off shadows, change it from 3 cascade shadow maps to like 1, like lo-fi, or turn shadows off. We got bloom processing, post-processing, and like a couple of other things like the resolution and stuff like that. So we've already got that in the core. We just don't have a UI for it. So obviously I think we need a settings thing for that, and would probably be worth putting something in there that shows you your current avatar. But that's kind of tied up in all of the auth stuff. Like, what do we want to do with that? Right now it just generates a random auth account for you when you jump into a world automatically, and it does it in the background. So yeah, I think once we have all of the pieces that we need to work with and have as UI, then I think it'd be easy to go, all right, so how do we lay this out? And I can't remember who it was yesterday. We jumped into a chat and talking about UI and just having it down the bottom left next to the chat thing, just having a couple of buttons, a little bit of buttons, extra buttons there. Yeah, I think something like that would be really good. And I was just going to say, I don't know what everyone else thinks, but I kind of like the simplicity that it currently is, because I know if you're a power user, I think maybe that's more intuitive and obvious. But no, you like trying to keep things as simple and intuitive without having to have like heaps and heaps and heaps of UI would be really cool. And the other thing I think that's really missing from UI is being able to explore your apps, like see a list of all the things that are in the world, be able to search them, filter them, look at how many like what's got heavy triangle counts. A window that does that would be really good.
Yeah, I totally agree that keeping everything simpler is the better way. That's why I went the way I did with the phone, because I figured everything in one spot that is easily hideable, one button, click it away, just like the chat. The chat is kind of what inspired that, actually.
Yeah,
For sure. Yeah, I love the phone idea because it just keeps it all together. Yeah.
Appreciate that. So then, yeah, it is basically keeping it minimalist. I do agree. And your experience with V1, I didn't know it would change that much, but it makes sense that a complete rebuild of the UI can break everything, and cause rework. And so why invest in it and have the community create the UI, the experiences that they want. And so I would say, to answer Valiant's question, is be on the lookout for UI. I think it's just searching to see what Howie has. I think Meta Mike might have some UI elements. I think we just have to maybe post in the showcase. If people can post things in the showcase to show their developer stuff, to show what any UI elements they're working on, and then sharing that code, of course, to help everybody kind of figure out what UI is accessible or could be done. And the guiding principle, I think, would be keep it minimal. Maybe it could just become little buttons on where the chat is, and that opens up the flyout menu for the specific experience or app. But I thank you, Ash, for walking through the reason why we don't see the normal, what V1 guys are used to seeing. That's helpful.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's freaking funny that that we're able to, like, we're all doing these things with almost no UI at all. I think that's kind of like an achievement in itself. But yeah, I think as we want to open this platform up to more people who aren't creators and understand that kind of like concept of how things are currently working, then we need to like educate users. And usually when people who aren't technical or designers and, they're not used to that kind of stuff, they want to see buttons. Like if you look at Nifty Island, for example, like they always have, depending on what mode you're on, they always just have the keys, like the buttons that you can press at any time. Yeah.
Well, Blender is actually a good example of that too. Like Blender, all the buttons is what usually scares people away from learning, but the best people don't even use the buttons. They use hotkeys for everything,
Yep.
That's it. Yeah.
So Howie, go ahead, and I think you're kind of next up. You've been sharing a lot of stuff, and now you got an official Blender plugin. So how's that experience?
Yeah, I mean that's been interesting. It's been a while since I made a plugin for Blender. It's not the first one I made, but I haven't done them in a while, so it was a bit different. Let me see if I can. I'll give a quick demo of that for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, too. Hold on. Let's just use the flipper as an example. All right, you see my Blender, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. So this flipper, I'll start from scratch actually. So let's say you got this flipper, right? You just brought this in fresh GLB, or you just made it, or whatever the case is. Here you can select what type of rigid body you want it to be: static, dynamic, kinematic. You can set your mass. Mesh actually has a cast shadow and receive shadow flag. I don't know, is that actually functioning, Ash?
I don't think in the GLB to Nodes.js code, I don't think it actually applies those from there, but we should add it. Okay. It should support almost all flags.
Yeah, I tried to go through and find all the flags that were there for meshes and colliders and rigid body just to add it here, whether it was working or not. I figured it would be at some point. So
yeah, it'll eventually work with that. Yeah.
Right. Then you got your colliders, standard box collider, which I want to fix this. Right now, it's just a regular size box that you have to resize yourself. I'm going to make it so it's just the bounding box of the object, so it auto sizes. Same with the sphere. It's just a regular sphere in the center that you have to resize yourself, but that's also a bit odd. You wouldn't really want a sphere around the bounding box. Geometry just copies the geometry and uses that as the collider. And then simple collider is something I was working on, which basically copies the geometry, but then decimates the shit out of it. Not really using decimate, it was using something else, but it basically simplifies it to take as many polys off as possible, so it's not crazy for the collider. Then you got your convex flags, your trigger flag. And then you can create a single rigid body with this button, or if you had multiple objects, say I had this goalpost here. Where the hell is it? Why isn't my post showing? Oh, there it is. Perfect. So I had this goalpost here. I could also select both of them. Let's unparent that so it doesn't break it. I could select both of them here and create multiple rigid bodies, and it'll set them up separately: collider, mesh, rigid body. You can rename them accordingly, and then all your properties down here get set. And then same idea, export all objects. You just pick a folder. Everything that's selected and visible will export as its own separate object into whatever folder you pick. Or individual objects, you can select one and then export. Same thing, it takes what's visible and selected and exports it. And that's the basic rundown so far of all the functionality of this. Then as far as actual in-world goes, the newest stuff that I've been working on, and this goes along with keeping UI simple. So now you notice that in Bogey's world, when he right-clicked stuff, he had extra UI on things that I actually don't even have anymore, because since then, I realized, why clog up the UI? We have Control-C and Control-V, so you can just Control-C and then Control-V and copy and paste objects. This also works in any world. Any world that has this update in it, it works in between those worlds. So you saw as you just copied this object. If I go into Doja's world, who has the same update as me, I can literally just Control-V and paste it into his world now.
Yep, what up? Welcome to Popeye.
That's crazy.
It's so crazy.
It gets crazier, bro. It gets crazier.
Copy
Oh,
paste
did you know
across
about the,
worlds that are hosted on different domains.
Yeah.
Yep. And now
Well,
what it's
built for
actually
sharing.
doing is when you're copying it from this world, it's taking this actual instance of this model from this world and the script that's on it and bringing it into this world from that world. So it's actually still in that world. I haven't tested this fully yet, but if you update, I'm assuming if you update the model in this world and then reload this world, it should update, but it doesn't like, real-time update.
But
Pretty mind-blowing.
The other thing I added, as you'd seen here when I right-clicked, the only other thing is equipped avatar. So now any VRMs, you can swap between them. Just right-click and equip it. And you don't even actually have to. I also added that to the T button, so you could just hover over it with your mouse and hit T. Pick any ones that swaps them out.
I love that it swaps it out. Like you're just stealing it.
Yeah. That was at first it was just equipping it, and then it was gone. And I was like, that feels so weird. Like it just disappeared. Like at
It
least
feels like Resonate.
now it's like
like
a body swapper, you know?
Yeah, it's exactly like Resonate works. Like when you swap avatars.
I'd say it's even quicker than that, to be almost in that sense, because it's you literally just hover and, same way.
Yeah,
It's no
it's so
clicking on
fast.
it and double click. Yeah, you literally hover and T. Nugs, not drugs. Let's go.
Let's see, what else have I added? I haven't worked much on the phone in the past couple of days because I wanted to touch base with you on that anyway, Ash, before I continue digging in and adding and clogging it all up.
Hey, Devlight, your mic is going a bit crazy. I think it's picking up some background noise. Just get it ducked out.
Just sawing tiles.
Electric toothbrush or something.
I can force mute, I guess. I don't know how.
You right click and then the red server mute will do it.
Oh, server mute. Okay.
You got to
How's that?
unmute him though. Otherwise, if you don't, he'll be muted forever. So a quick rundown on the phone because I never really got to explain where I was going with it like this. So my idea was to keep it as much like an actual phone as possible because we're all familiar with them. so you got your lock screen, obviously, that you come into, your normal power off. This bar at the moment is just the 3 basic apps. It doesn't actually function, but you can long click on an app and get the little wiggly and like move them around. The drag and drop also doesn't like broke on me, but it does work.
Dude's literally building an entire phone operating system.
Oh, bro, show him the about, bro. Show him the about and the Easter egg.
Yeah, I'm getting there. So
Okay,
you can even make new pages. You can add new pages to it, so you can have more pages of apps. Eventually, I would like to have it just swipe back and forth like a real phone. In the settings, this is where I figured all this kind of stuff could live. This is the profile that I was working on. You can link it to your Matrix chat, which actually does work at the moment. Let me log in. Jesus Christ. Well, it does work. I got to find my login for it. But anyway, the Wallet Connect also works. But I think the wallet might be broken at the moment. Let's see. Oh.
What is connecting a wallet or Matrix or anything do? Like, what is that?
Well, I'm going to explain that. Let me get into the Matrix this way. You can see the Matrix is working. The wallet is broken at the moment. Oh fuck! I can't paste. Oh no! My copy and paste for the models has broken paste for UI on some of the things. I don't know which one of these are Element. It's none of them. Well, I'll show you in a second. I should be able to get into it anyway. This is all just like broken, except for this. The theme at the moment does work. You can change the colors. You can upload wallpapers and change your wallpaper on the phone. Let's just use this for example. It did work. Oh, that must also have broken along the way. Themes do work though. You should be able to make your own theme. That also stopped working. I've been doing a lot of settings stuff, so dark mode, light mode works, window transparency. This is all extra stuff. When you go to the about, normally this developer options doesn't show, much like Android, and you got to go click this little crane 7 times, which gives you access to the developer option. And then this is where I was putting things like World Inspector, performance stats. This should toggle the stats up here, but it also broke.
That's cool. You could have like a wireframe mode and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. Like object bounds was showing all the bounding boxes around everything, but cool. it didn't update them. It just showed where they were when the world loaded, and then there was just a whole bunch of boxes stuck around that didn't do anything. So yeah, that's settings, and then the wallet connect. When you connect your wallet, this was a fully functional wallet. I have a different build somewhere that this world's not running on that does work. But yeah, full functional wallet. It had send, receive, shows all your tokens, all your NFTs. The chat, once again, shit, I really got to get into this. Give me 1 sec.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think the concept of having everything in a phone just makes it easy to like show and hide. I've kind of spoke about this before, but I think doing something like this in the core could be an option to kind of keep everything together, but also allow people to opt out if they need to. I think like a lot of big projects that we want everyone to use this tech, because I think like in 6 months, you know what I mean, like easily, this is going to just be the de facto solution. If anyone wants to build any kind of like 3D digital world that is for a game, for a live event, for a showcase, for literally anything, I think people would be silly to like not use us. They'd just be losing out on power, really. But a lot of people just want something out of the box. So I think that the phone gives you a whole bunch of stuff that's just ready to go. But I think for like a lot of bigger projects that are maybe like a little bit more corporate-y or whatever, probably have a lot of use for this, but they probably wouldn't want all of the Hyperfy auth and any kind of like branding and stuff like that. And so if everything is completely isolated inside this one UI that's like a phone thing, then you could have an environment variable that turns that off, and you could just replace that with your own, or have nothing at all, like and just have automatic off like we currently do. And that just kind of keeps it accessible to everybody and usable for whatever purposes they need.
So it seems like everything today is broken on me. It's one of those days. But this chat, now that I'm logged into the Matrix, brings up a connection to Matrix chat. And as you can see, all the channels are here. All the people are here. And the chats are connected. I was able to cross-communicate between here and Element and any other Matrix chat thing, including from world to world. Anybody with the phone logged in can then chat and communicate using Matrix.
That's cool.
And it even worked with, let's see if this still works. Yeah, there's my actual, this is like, it goes on and then goes off. This is maybe something I could pick your brain about, because this is something I was having an issue with that I couldn't figure out. So watch, when I call, you'll see the phone, like my camera here in the bottom.
Yeah, I saw that for a second. It showed.
Yeah, it goes on for a second and then it goes off. Now on Element's side, if Bogey actually answers the call, he'll be able to see everything on his side. It's just not pulling everything back into the Neos or into the Hyperfy world for some reason.
Is this phone running in an iframe? Or is it like full proper UI on the main?
Yes, it's running in an iframe.
Yeah, cool. Did you run into any issues storing credentials in an iframe? Because I know that if you have an iframe in hyperfy.howie's, whatever your domain is, but if you had you went to another domain that had that iframe in there, I think they have different storage.
No, actually, okay, no. So I take that back. No, this app is not running through an iframe. This is custom.
Right. Yeah, the Matrix thing in an iframe. Okay.
Yeah. This is just using the Matrix API and a custom built UI. This is not running through iframe here.
Awesome.
Yeah, this actually stores, like if you're logged into your wallet or logged into your Matrix chat, it stores between connections in the world as well. So you don't have to log in every single time. So this is the inventory one that I had working. Also turned it off because I changed this UI, but there used to be a button here like add to inventory. And then it puts it here in your phone, and then you could spawn it out anywhere in the world. That's
awesome. So you just have a palette of things that you'll use in your world, yeah.
Exactly, a palette of items. And then this is where I was putting the world items. I was basically going to do a world hierarchy of every item that's in the world would appear here,
Very cool. And you could do things like highlight the heavy objects or ones that might be using up a lot of scripting time and stuff like that, yeah.
Right. Then we have the App Store. The App Store is pulling from a GitHub repo at the moment. Any GitHub repo can be used for it that hosts just single JS files, because that's all the apps are. And then there's like a small metadata header that you put in the file, and it gives it all its information for the little thumbnail here and everything. The browser, this is running iframes now. But full iframe browser in here. And screen share, which also the buttons disappeared, but this does full screen sharing, just same way Discord does, but right here into the phone. So this is how I was actually playing Nifty Island in Hyperfy, right here on the phone, screen sharing it. And then it's not showing here, but which I don't know why, because it is installed. I need to figure out why. I think the main UI stopped updating at some point. But there's also an app that I made for Meshy that can generate Meshy objects, but it will not let you spawn them for some reason yet. It generates them. It wants to try to download them, but I don't know if they do something weird with their GLB or URL or something, but it does not bring them into the world for some reason.
So I think I know what that is. When they generate the models, they give you a URL to them on their servers. And their servers have cause protection on them, which means that You can download them like regularly if you want to, but you can't load them into your world from within a browser context on a different domain from theirs.
Gotcha.
So I have a local. Actually, I pushed up a branch. There's a Meshy branch in the repo. The way that I worked around that was to have a proxy endpoint on the back end of your world server. It basically means that you can pass it the URL to the GLB from Meshy API and just call it through and get the server to get it for you, and then it comes back through.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
World
causes a terrible thing that didn't need to exist. And the fact that you can just work around it with a proxy endpoint means that cause doesn't even need to exist, really. It's weird. And yeah.
Well, we just found our bad guy for like any like adventure game we make. Cause.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I have. There's a couple other things that I was working on, but they're, like I said, they're not in this version of the phone at the moment, so it's not like there's really anything to show. I did have like a terminal running that was literally running a terminal on the local machine that the server was running on. And I also had a file manager showing, but I had a permissions issue that I was trying to work around because my concept that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I actually built this once, like a rough version of it with Bogey and Blender. I would like in the future to use Hyperfy as a desktop Windows manager. Like just install like a basic like Linux server, use Hyperfy as the manager, and then have the world load up like a warehouse for a hard drive. In that warehouse, there's like a box, which is a folder. And then in that box, there might be folders of other folders or images or, like, and I want it to be a 3D representation of my file system. And I think that's possible now with this.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Just on the console thing, I think that's a good idea around being able to see the logs on the server. So right now, if while building a Hyperball, I noticed that when I'm building the apps that are running on the server side, I don't have any visibility from the world as to the console logs happening. And also I have to open up DevTools to see them in the browser for the client side parts of the app. So I think what's something that we could do is just have the Node.js server keep a log of all the console errors and warnings and stuff like that, and stream them down to the client, and you could have a tab for the logs for both. It could even be like on the chat. Like the chat has 3 tabs. It's got chat and then console or something, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like Unity or like man. That's a vibe. I like that.
Yeah, because it's annoying. Like when you're building worlds locally, you can quickly switch to your terminal. But if you've got a hosted world, like on HP Arcos's like platform or Lustrum's, like you don't have full visibility on that. And so we kind of really need it at some point. But I think that's doable, and it shouldn't be too hard.
Wow, imagine the terminal being that chat box as well. I mean, basically is already. Or like out of terminal mode.
And then I guess I'll show you one more thing that's separate, but will make very useful for building that I find very useful. This is an app called Eagle.cool. It's just a cataloging app. You could pictures, whatever you want in here. It handles 3D files. So as you can see, these are all GLBs. Like I can click on one, see it in full 3D in here. And it handles drag and drop. So I can literally just drag and drop it in world and just be like, oh, I like that fence. I like this, Did
you have to do anything to support that?
No,
or does
no.
It just
that's just what it does by default, yeah.
It's really good.
I swear by this app. It's a paid app. It's only $20 or something like that, but it's totally worth it.
That's really cool. I mean, I think that's how we want people to be able to build catalogs of things on the web, rather than having to download an app, just going to a website and having that exact same kind of view and being able to drag and drop those. And that's why I think I was mentioning being able to paste URLs to a GLB or drag and drop a URL into a world and it would download it for you.
Which I think I think that is working in this now. Let me double check that. I think that's just part of the copy paste system. I'm pretty sure it should still be.
Yeah, when you copy paste it, if you paste it in a new tab, it downloads it.
I'm not 100% positive if I changed that when I took the buttons off of the wheel, though.
Okay.
I feel like I might have.
Crazy.
Because one of your buttons is actually copy GLB URL, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think when I took that out, I changed it.
Oh, I see.
I can't load into your world, though.
Was it? There are quite a few VRMs in there.
That's really cool. I see. I could see like a place where 3D artists could go create like a pack of assets or a kit or something like that, and they get that kind of a page that, on the right here that lets people use it easily in their worlds. Could be kind of cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's like a kind of like encyclopedia or library. So.
Yeah. When I changed it from copying the item information, it's not taking the URL now. I got to update the paste function to check for URLs. But that does work, yeah. Copying and pasting URLs or dragging and dropping URLs does actually function.
That's so cool. I think I want to try, like, once we clear all this current stuff that we're working on, I'll probably hit you up about getting some of these things into the core. I think, I don't know how copy paste would fit in. I mean, yeah, the copy paste should be something that we put in the core. Equipping VRMs I love, but not sure what, like, there's a couple of scenarios I think that might be a bit weird, but allowing it would be cool.
If we can abstract some of these things into apps that we could just apply onto items, that would be even better. Like that, then people have the option to use them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for sure. Very cool. You're like a mad hatter, like crazy, doing all these like experiments and stuff, which is good. I should ask, like, did you have any blockers? Like, is there anything that is really needed in the core right now that you can see, or?
I would say it's mostly my opinion as far as this goes, but I just think we need, and this is why I've been kind of trying to add these little things in. I just think we need more of the little simple things, like, because I feel like everybody now is like coming in and is like, well, what do? I still have to code. I still have to do this. And it's like, the more that we add little things, like, for example, like this, like moving, right? Moving needs like a fine tune, like I need to be able to rotate on all axes and also adjust, like very finely in each direction. It's little things like that, I think, that are the blockers at the moment. And they're not even blockers. It's just setbacks kind of,
That's something I forgot to show earlier. I added a little thing to the inspect pane to do that. And freeze the object because I kept deleting it by accident, moving it.
Yeah, freeze is definitely something we should add too. Yeah, the transform thing, we need like for the power users might want a transform widget. It'd be good if you could do scaling. The moving up and down, the way when you hold shift when you're moving something, if you move the mouse up and down, it moves, but like you can only move it up and down so far until the mouse hits the top of the screen or whatever.
Oh, that drives me nuts.
I was thinking as well, like, imagine if you held Alt, you can then like go forward and backwards as well. I think that'd be kind of cool. But
yeah,
that might work too for like even the fine tune rotation or even scaling. Like if you hit that, like let's say you just do scroll wheel with the shift, and if you got something, it could scale it, I guess, up, down, however much on that part, or just do like the fine tune when you just rotate it normal with it and then hit shift rotator mouse wheel and all. Yeah.
Personally, now this is personal preference and heavy bias, but if we're kind of sticking with the idea of that the workflow is going to be, use Blender for your models and then bring them in here, maybe we should keep the hotkeys to be as close to Blender hotkeys and transforms and stuff as possible. So this way, it's like if you're already used to Blender, you know how to use Hyperfy.
Oh snap! Oh my
That's
god.
true. Like if I could go, because I use hotkeys in Blender like to an extreme where I'll click G, Z, and then type in a number.
Yeah,
like,
bro.
how much I
That's
want
how
to
you
it.
do it. That's how you do it, bro. Yep.
And like,
Absolutely.
yeah, if you just want to,
R90,
if you want to rotate on X, you go RX. Yeah,
I mean-
maybe that's the way we need it.
I think, but to enter that mode, you need to like establish selecting an object properly. I think maybe like adding, I don't know if how easy it is to add like 3ds outline to like to selected objects so you know what's selected, and then something like that. I mean, like a double click maybe. Or,
Well, with all the my stuff, I'm actually just doing it on mouse over, like whatever the mouse is like raycasted onto. You know what I mean?
oh,
So
okay.
even that's not that bad, you know, like because that frees
Actually,
you up.
that
from
would
having
be-
to select a single thing. You know, you just
That would
mouse
be a
over it,
vibe, bro. Oh
you know,
my
X,
gosh, I'm
you know,
thinking about-
RX or whatever.
Yeah, bro. RX 90, fucking S10, S-1. Like, let's go. Yeah, I like that. Maybe, I don't know, like, would you just type that in the chat, I guess? I mean, just to, stay minimal and seamless. It's just it's the Omni chat box, I guess. I don't know.
I think if you've got your mouse if you got your cursor in the chat, it probably wouldn't. You would just, if you put G, it would just put a G. Because like, yeah, if you're not in the chat, then it's like G has the keybind to move it or something like that. Why is Blender G to move? Like,
Because you grab it.
grab.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you put the way that it currently moves, like if you right click something and move it, it like raycasts and sticks to whatever you're like hovering over. Would that be what current G would do? Like if we added G, that would do it until you click something like Z or X or Y.
Well,
you'd be
is
in
there
move mode, yeah.
is there currently a difference between local and world space? I'd assume yes, right?
All apps are in world space.
Okay, yeah. Personally, I think clicking G on an object shouldn't change shouldn't raycast it. It should just move from that location.
Yeah, you start at you start at the current position. Yeah, kind of thing.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because let's say perfect example is this little chicken nugget right here that's floating, right? Let's say I only wanted to move that like an in-game inch. You know, if I go to move, now it's gone. Like I lost that position for that little inch that I wanted to move, you know?
And
so if you wanted to move it an inch, you would want to put your mouse over it, go GX.1.
Yeah, something along those lines, yep.
And then enter and it will commit it.
Thinking about adding that, do you think maybe like our gizmos, like instead of having like maybe add a gizmo later, but for now, like Blender, when you do those like G and X, for example, you lock onto the X axis, that's all you see is like a red line, like stretching up. And it makes I think that could be just using that for minimal, movement.
Yeah, I agree. Does anyone ever use the actual widget, like the arrows, and like click and drag those in Blender? Because I don't.
Very rarely, and I think more people do than don't. To be honest, I think the beginner people do. So that's what I was going to say is that maybe even making G activate the mouse to click those gizmos. You know, like add a little gizmo and then just
grab
after
gizmo.
you hit G, the mouse can affect it. You know,
GG.
Yeah.
Grab gizmo. That's funny. My goodness.
Yeah, this is good. I love it. I think there's definitely something there.
I got another random question since I've seen it and I'm dying for it. Is the terrain editing going to be a core thing?
Can it be a core thing? So I have a couple of different versions that I worked on with the reference. The code's all there, I think. Part of the core. I mean, yes, maybe it should be. Maybe it should be an optional thing that you can turn on. So what I found is that it is really cool and you can make some amazing stuff with it. But there is like an overhead in generating all that geometry because it's quite large. And there's no LOD on it. So it can get quite big.
Is
So
it
like
not-
usually
is it not-
like now when you load into a world, it's almost instant and then everything else pops in. But terrain, you would have to preload because the collision and all that kind of stuff you would need.
Could that be its own app, like a terrain app that you put on like a terrain like say that, I can access the inspect for this ground and put a terrain app on it.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's the way it is just that it's set up as an app because the app has the whole new control scheme where you can take over the keyboard, the mouse, anything really. It could have its own, when you in Unity, when you switch to like their built-in terrain editor, the whole control system changes.
You get that
So
like
we've
kind of
kind
like
of got
sphere
everything
thing.
for that. Yeah, and you get the buttons to raise and lower and like all that kind of like put down foliage, grass, paint grass. That could all just be built straight into an app, I think.
Yeah.
The only thing that's missing for that would be you need like a node. You could have a node called terrain. But then I'm not sure about persistence. Yeah, maybe. There's something to think about for sure.
What do you think about the inspection mode to like see how dense things are? Like, if it could like sniff out like a 70 megabyte texture or something. 'Cause sometimes there's a bunch of objects and you don't know what's slowing stuff down.
Yeah. So we need a list of objects, and then I think that if there's a sort option where you can go sort by like the dumbest stuff you have, and it just puts all the things with the highest like triangles, highest textures all at the top.
Yeah. That's cool. And then my last question would be about manual lighting, like spotlights, things like that.
Oh yeah, the punctual light from GLBs. Yes.
Yeah, right now they're not supported. I think somebody was playing around with them. You can add them. I haven't been bothered because there are performance issues with lighting on the web. One light's usually okay. In VR, it's probably not. You want to have like baked lighting and use a lot of bloom lit surfaces and stuff to kind of emulate light. I prefer not using them, but like it's totally doable with one or two or something if you need it.
Does the bloom actually light the surface?
Nah, it doesn't.
The HDRIs are 10 times better though in this version, I think.
Yeah. It looks pretty good. It really like if you think about or wait till you play Hyperball and have a look around. Like it feels like there's all sorts of dynamic light going on, but there isn't.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Like
a cheat.
I have this little frame in here. Looks pretty clean, and then you go over here. Looks way different.
Yo, Scott was the first person to edit the base environment. Well, first person I know. Like you got like crazy terrain going on.
Get lucky.
Hyperspace.
Oh, that you've edited the
Oh, yeah.
terrain? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
And then I tried to make a light, and all I got was this.
Yeah, we need to figure out environments. So right now you've got that grass patch, and I'm like completely sick of it now, even though it looks kind of cool. I just see it every day now.
I was like, I'm done with the grass.
Touched enough grass.
Yeah,
That's actually what motivated me making this hyperspace world. Because like I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm like,
that.
we're in the metaverse. Why the hell are we in a flat Earth
grass.
of a grass thing with a dome? Like,
Look at that.
I love that. How did you do all the particles in there?
it's all just custom JS.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's right in. Like I edited the world JS file itself, like and got rid of it's generating that all on there.
Like client.
I think the particles, I've got the particle system from V1 that I ported into the reference, and I think that's almost a drop in for V2. So at some point I'll get that in there, a proper particle system.
I actually had that one working already in there. It was just a little buggy for what I was trying to use it with, and I couldn't figure out how to get it to track the player's location right. So I just gave up what I was trying to do at the moment.
Oh yeah, all good. Yeah, it should be doable. I mean, it's super. I think that's going to add a lot of flavor to worlds. I think that'd be useful.
I was actually really surprised what's even capable of doing with just straight JS in these files. Like this world, I like shocked the hell out of me when I made it. Like everything was done in layers. So like the little tiny dots that you see moving in the background were supposed to be like cloud, like nebula clouds or whatever. And then these little white flashing things are actually letters. You just can't see them because they're so far away. It's like a matrix effect. And then all of these like lightning bolts that are flashing everywhere are actually connecting like the dots, like neuron effects, like randomly throughout the world.
What?
Yeah, it's like
a little like
static electric
shooting
effect.
star things.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild too when you look at it from certain angles, and it's like it literally looks like you're just flying through space, even when you're not moving. Like just how it goes through. Yeah, you're looking
This
straight
whole
up, and it's yeah.
It needs
And then,
zero G, man.
and then there's these little UFOs. These ones actually come and like follow you around, like the player, and then like fly away.
In New Jersey
my God.
drones.
They're watching you.
Yeah, they're watching you exactly. I haven't been able to get it to work yet, but I'm trying to get it so that like when the player has been idle for like longer than a minute, they'll come and just like circle your head, and then when you move again, like fly away.
That's cool. Like all of that stuff, I want to be able to do that in the core, easy. Like, I think that's really cool. Does anyone else want to show what they're working on? Air their frustrations, anything like that?
Hey, so busy here, so I can't stream right now, but actually I want to talk about Tauri kind of nerd sniped me yesterday with the asking about code suggestions in the editor and stuff, and I dug deep into it, and I have a branch going where that's enabled, and I discovered that it's also really like straightforward to add like code snippets. So I think it could be like a cool like for people to have like good snippets for scripts, like simple patterns that we discover, you know, like at first just like world is server, world is client is something that we're doing a lot, but maybe more complex event patterns, and even like the mode pattern that we have on the drone, I think. So anyways, if you have, this is more of a call to action. If you have like any useful snippets of patterns, you can just like send them my way, and I'll work on getting it added to the PR.
Cool. So you got autocomplete working in the code editor for things like the globals, like app and world. And it shows it shows what the arguments are, what the function does, and that kind of stuff. So while you're building, especially if you're new, or you forget what there is, and you can just type app dot and it'll show you everything that's there.
And it's synced like to the code base. So if you happen to change it or like add a new command, a new thing, like I have a branch with app.register command, and it's like when I generate the docs, the autocomplete shows up automatically. So it would be easy.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have a fork of the engine that modifies anything, you can kind of it'll automatically kind of keep itself updated.
Yeah.
Very cool. How does the snippets work? Is that something that you like? Do you type a certain thing into the editor and it shows you an option to inject the rest of it?
Yeah, kind of like that. The script generates like a big JSON file of suggestions, but there's also like a JSON of like snippets that we can just like type it out, and we'll get exactly like that.
Yeah, cool. I think a lot of this will become redundant when we start adding like AI prompted things.
It's fine.
I want to have the. Yeah, what I really want to see is like if I can describe what is in a GLTF file. Like there's these meshes, these are the positions that they're in, the scales, transforms, whatever. And I send that to an AI with some context around what I want it to do, and also it understands the hyperscript like language. Basically, it should be able to do a lot of stuff for you. Like I should be able to give it a ball and it can make it physics operated, like network based physics. That's kind of like a good test, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And this work that I'm doing now would help with giving the context to the AI, right? If you have like, you can pull in programmatically like the functions that you might use, that it might use, or with like function calling or whatever, and you feed like how to use those functions to the AI. It could work like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be perfect because I think that the AI really needs context about what the shape of the geometries and stuff are. But I think if you pass things like the bounding box of the geometry, like a bounding box it would be a big cube thing. It's probably enough for it to kind of be able to figure these things out.
I think it's possible with the help of an agent to discern the shape, like if agents were the helpers, because they can look into the world, right?
That's true, and you could even have a screenshot of the 3D model that you send along to the AI when it generates all of that stuff.
The frame of render texture.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it should just be able to figure that stuff out.
Like, what's up with
Just
this
have
shape,
it
bro?
do like a like a 360 of the object and take random screenshots of it and feed the like LoRa style to it,
Just do the LoRa walk. It just walks around it. That's wild.
Yeah. So we doing this with DeepSeek or?
Any models, Phil. I mean, I've been using Claude still.
Yeah, I've been using DeepSeek with Claude. It's best to use both, I think.
Yeah.
Overall.
Every tool in the arsenal.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Yeah. Is it possible to just have like right here on the inspect menu, like next to the preload button, can we have like a button there that just network syncs that object?
Oh my gosh.
Network syncs, all the nodes that are in it.
Yeah, like the ball should just have like a thing there, like to, click it and make a network sync. Instead of
Like if it's like dynamic collider or something. Like if it's a certain caveat or
Yeah,
just like
maybe
any
it would automatically go through and find dynamic rigid bodies and network those. So it wouldn't touch the mesh or anything like that.
It'd be like GLP to network nodes, JS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have actually two questions. You've mentioned that you wanted to add like anchor points, and I actually it's kind of like a noob question, I guess. But would these anchor points help with like more easy like networking of, say, we have a sword that you attach to a character's hand, and then you don't have to like update every frame like on the server, right? It works like that? It could work like that or no? Or is it something?
Networked to your hand.
I'm sorry. No, I mean like if you equip a sword, like you could just send to the server like, okay, this sword is attached to this hand now, and the server updates the other clients like that. And then you don't need like to continuously keep updating the position of the sword because.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, so one of the things that we've got the jets and the tank and the drone and that kind of stuff right now, and like the player doesn't attach to the tank and the drone, they didn't like sit in it. So to do that, we're going to have this node called an anchor, and you can use it for seats as well. And the way that the networking works for that is it basically just says, all right, on the player, add a thing called an anchor ID on like the data. and then make sure that all the clients in the server know that the player has set an anchor to an ID of a node or something like that in the world. And then that way, no matter what, now we don't need to send any more network data for that. It can basically just, the remote clients in the server can automatically just look for that node and update it, the position to be that.
Yeah, that's dope, man.
Yeah, and so we use that for driving things, mounts, seats, roller coasters.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
You can do equipment, right? Swords, guns.
Yep.
The opposite way you are attacking.
Yeah, it's like that's the opposite way. Yeah, so we need to figure
What
out
about
something for that
cameras?
as well.
Like, if you could set anchors for cameras and then.
So anything you can already, there's a control system that apps can take over camera. They just claim it for themselves. And they can just update the position of those. So rather than actually having to put like a camera in the GLTF, a camera in 3JS is actually just an empty object that kind of has a couple of things, like the field of view and stuff attached to it. So you could just you could just have an empty in your Blender file that represents a camera, and you can just use the transform of that to update the real world camera into that.
Damn. Okay. Thank you.
I'll share like a jet or like the tank and stuff that takes over the controls.
Yeah.
Makes it more obvious how that works. Does anyone else want to like showcase what they're working on? Anything cool that they've got going? Any issues that they're running into, like blockers, or anything like that? We go for like an hour now, so I'm fine sticking around, but I think just being mindful of everybody else as well. But I'm definitely keen to hear if anybody else has anything else to say or talk about.
One last thing. Wanted to know, like, you were talking about earlier about like spawning like models, even the basic one, or like the Hyperbot avatar, stuff like that. Are you thinking about that being able about like scripts being able to do that, or is it something that you're only thinking like for testing, and we should be like doing the GLB and programming like every single GLB itself to spawn or not spawn?
Are you talking about spawning like a VRM into the world through an app or something like that, and controlling it like an agent?
Yeah, let's say I want to spawn like 3 in one app, or like I have like a bunch of mobs, right?
Oh yeah, so we have this concept in apps called fields, and or configuring a configuration for your app, which lets you have like inputs in the inspect window. And one of the types is file that you can set to an avatar, and that'll let you select a VRM. And it's used for, we've been using it for a bunch of other things, but I would need to like double check. But the intention is that you could have 3 things that let you pick 3 avatars, and then your script can like spawn them, duplicate them, make them move around. You could put a player controller on them and make them walk around if you wanted to, and that's how agents will work as well. We already have the basics of agents, but they aren't walking around and roaming. So we're trying to figure out whether we do that through like an LLM or through some kind of like training data for how that works. That's just kind of like a side note.
Well, like nav mesh or something.
There's 2. First, I think the first part is we need to know what the navigatable area is around them. And so doing some kind of like in the physics, having a spherical sweep, like, or a sphere raycast around the area that you want to generate a nav mesh, and then being able to get back the geometry of the walkable areas. And on the client, that might be a bit expensive, but on the server is totally doable. And if you're running like an NPC or an AI agent that's walking around, you'd probably want to do that on the server anyway.
I was just oh my gosh, what if you use like spatial audio to trigger the sweep?
Spatial audio to trigger what? Sorry?
Like trigger like the agents, like,
navigational sweep with the sphere raycast.
I was thinking,
yeah.
what if it was spatial audio? Like you're speaking to it, you got like your
Doppler range, and if it's really soft, it'll like try and do a bigger sweep to try and get closer to you.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, but it could do it continuous. Like it could know the direction that the voice is coming from, and
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
keep checking the nav mesh every like few
Like
meters.
Marco Polo.
to make sure- yeah, that's really cool. Once we get them walking around, I think agents will look be a lot more interesting. I already find them quite interesting, like more interesting than like an AI agent. Like
It's like an NPC on steroids, man. You know, the NPCs from V1 is that on steroids. Like, it's wild.
Yeah, just the fact that they can like choose what emotes to play.
Yes.
They can kind of like match whatever they're seeing and vibing with in the world. Like, soon we'll have this idea of points of interest that you can place around the world, and the agents can. After we've got the nav mesh stuff, then points of interest make more sense, where they might find something that they can go walk up to and interact with and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, so it's kind of like a collider.
The points of interest is just like a literal point in space, so one transform. But it just kind of like is more of a signal to say, instead of feeding a stream of like video to the agent and saying like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do all the time? You could just give it like a bit of JSON that says like, here's all the things in the world. You can just decide to go to any of them and play around with any of those things if you want to.
Oh, cool.
Inception. You know, you got to give it the idea.
Go pick this trash can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, go run on this treadmill, go lift weights, go flex in the mirror. Like if you had a mirror and then you had like the agent had emotes to do like a flex, like a flexing his muscles or some shit, then the agent could autonomously decide that he wants to go and stand in front of the mirror and flex his muscles.
Now you're making cinematic gold.
It's about like giving these agents the ability to make things up that you didn't actually tell them what to do. They just decided that themselves.
Allowing
and like you put like 5 of those in a world, and it's like, wow, you could it'd just be like watching a movie.
reality.
Once you have nav meshes too, like or some navigation system, that's pretty much done. Like that's all it's missing.
Yeah,
all the rest of that. It's game over. Yeah, like you could literally just have a mirror in your world, and if the mesh is called mirror, it could just take that position and then nav mesh to it. You know, it doesn't even have to like recognize the object. You could you know.
Yep, that's it. You get it.
I think
it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be super fun.
One thing missing from all that is like a cinematic camera system or something like that.
Yes.
But
yeah, we need better camera systems. Rather than building that into the core, I think cameras should be part of like an app, so you can. I talked about this the other day. I was like, someone asked about cameras, and I was like, well, we could just have an app that is like a flying camera, like on a drone, and you can just fly that around a little bit.
Do like a dolly and track.
I still think that's a great idea, and I'm totally with that. But I kind of think that there should be just 2 basic camera modes, and one of them should be the way we have it now, just like player editor mode, like you know, game mode, let's call it, or whatever. And then the other one should just be a flying camera, just for building, like just build mode and play mode, you know. Then that's it. And then all the other cameras, you know, can be apps, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I think you make a good point about how like if you're a builder, it's like I don't need to go and.
I don't need to play to build.
I love it though. I do love it.
It would be especially cool to be building in multiplayer that way, because then it's like, imagine 5 of us in a world and one person's just flying around building everything while watching everybody else interact with what you're building, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Very true.
I still think like half the fun in a world is building with other people and just kind of like being able to change anything at any point.
Mm-hmm.
This gets really interesting and fun. I think that'll become more obvious to people when there are a bunch of apps ready to go. So like you got a bunch of friends, you want to create like a cool little space. Rather than switching back and forth to Blender and that kind of stuff, you just want like a bunch of stuff that you can just place in like get going straight away without having to worry about switching away from the world.
Yeah, we were having a blast pushing the soccer ball up a ramp yesterday.
Team effort.
Absolute law, man. I love it.
It was the dung beetle thing. Going up the hill.
Cool. If anyone else wants to chat, yell out now. Last call.
So we doing this every week, right?
I think we should, because there's already been a couple of things like blockers and stuff that people need. I'll go back over this. I think Frictillions recorded this, and I'll try and get as much as I can out and make some notes as well. I should have taken notes while I was doing this, to be honest. Just to make sure, because I think
just give it
good.
the transcript to AI and make it summarize it.
That's it. Yeah, I think there's lots of insights here, and I think that having a regular meeting means we can show off what people are building, which is cool, but also just to see where all the ideas mesh together, what problems there are, so that we can fix them. And I don't know, it feels more community driven, like keeping us together and doing all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's cool. Awesome. I think this was productive.
Absolutely. This has been the vibe. Literally. Literally every day since, like, I don't know, last week sometime, it's just the computer's on and Hyperfy, and I'm asking questions and solving some problems. But yeah, I love it, man. Thank you so much for, just B2, man. I'm so glad it's out. I've been so excited. I've been so excited.
It's been a long time. It's good to get it out. Feels good.
It's more than what I expected, man. It's bloody perfect, bro. It's the best game engine I've ever used.
Once we get, so the two things that I really want to work on next are the getting the audio into there, so we can have more like fun sounding worlds. It feels like you're deaf and you enter a world right now. We need more sound effects, especially for Hyperball, and then fixing the preload stuff. But other than that, there's like, we're almost good for anything and everything. So yeah, it's good. Thanks,
It's funny
guys.
that this whole call, that's how you know that the thing is good, when this whole call went by and nobody said anything about audio except for you until now.
That's funny. I'm happy to point out the flaws because I think that they need to be addressed. But yeah, for sure. We do need audio though. We definitely do.
We definitely do, but there's just so much right now that it's like you don't even notice that there is no audio at the moment. Like, it's weird.
That's true. All right, thanks, guys. I'm gonna go get myself some lunch. It's probably like late for you guys, but yeah.
Later, bro.
Cheers.
It's always now, man. You take care, my bro.
Later, bro.
That was awesome, bro. Holy crap.